The key turned in the lock, but something felt wrong. The house was supposed to be empty. My wife thought I was 3,000 miles away on a business trip that would keep me gone for a week. But here I was, standing in my own doorway at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, watching my entire world crumble in real time. What I discovered next didn't just destroy my marriage. It revealed a web of lies so intricate, so carefully constructed that I questioned everything I thought I knew about the woman I'd loved for 8 years. Before we dive in, please subscribe. It means the world to us and helps us bring you more amazing stories. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is David, and 3 days ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. Sarah and I met in college, married young, built what I believed was an unbreakable bond. She was my best friend, my confidant, the person I told everything to. Or so I thought. The business trip to Seattle was supposed to be routine, a week-long conference, some client meetings. The usual corporate grind. Sarah had seemed almost relieved when I told her about it. "You work too hard," she'd said, kissing my forehead. "Maybe some time apart will be good for both of us." I should have paid attention to that phrase, time apart. The conference started Monday morning, but by Tuesday, everything had gone sideways. The main client canceled, the meetings were postponed, and suddenly I had a choice. Stay in Seattle and waste company money on hotel rooms, or catch the next flight home and surprise my wife. I chose the surprise. Big mistake. The flight landed at noon. I took an Uber straight home, already imagining Sarah's face when I walked through the door. Maybe we'd order takeout, watch a movie, reconnect like she'd suggested. But as my key turned in the lock, the house felt different. Too quiet yet somehow occupied, I set my luggage down softly and listened. Nothing at first, then the faintest sound, the creak of our bedroom floor upstairs. I climbed the stairs slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. Each step felt like walking toward my own execution. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and what I saw through that crack shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. Sarah was there, asleep in our bed. But she wasn't alone. Tangled in the sheets beside her was a man. And as my eyes adjusted to the dim afternoon light filtering through the curtains, I realized with sick horror that I knew him. It was Marcus, my brother Marcus. They were sleeping peacefully, intimately, like this was the most natural thing in the world. Sarah's head was on his chest. His arm wrapped protectively around her. These weren't two people who had made a mistake. They were comfortable, familiar, like they'd done this 1,000 times before. For what felt like hours, I stood frozen in that doorway, watching them sleep in the bed I shared with my wife under the blankets we picked out together in the room where I proposed to her 3 years ago. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across their intertwined bodies, and I noticed details that cut like knives. Sarah was wearing a necklace I'd never seen before. Marcus had scratches on his back that spoke of passion. And on the nightstand was a coffee mug I recognized as Marcus's favorite. He'd been here before. She opened her eyes slowly, stretching like a cat, completely content and unaware. Then she turned toward the door and our eyes met. The transformation was instant and terrible. The peaceful expression vanished, replaced by pure terror. Her face went white, her mouth opened in a silent scream. And she sat up so fast she nearly fell out of bed. "David," she whispered as if saying, "My name might make me disappear." "You didn't. You didn't go on your trip." The movement woke Marcus, who opened his eyes and looked around groggy until he saw me standing there. The guilt that crashed across his face told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't some drunken mistake, some moment of weakness. This was a routine, a relationship, a life they built together while I was working late. Traveling, being the dedicated husband I thought she wanted. "How long?" I asked, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. Sarah scrambled to wrap the sheet around herself, tears already forming. "David, I can explain," I repeated, my eyes moving between my wife and my brother. Both of them naked in my bed. Both of them looking at me like I was the intruder. Marcus sat up slowly, running his hands through his hair. For a moment, I thought he might lie, might try to spin this into something that made sense. Instead, he just looked at his hands and said, 2 years. 2 years. I did the math in my head. 2 years ago was when Sarah started her new job. When Marcus moved back to town, when our marriage started feeling different, all those late nights Sarah worked. All those family dinners where Marcus seemed to know details about our life that I'd never shared. All those times I'd felt like an outsider in my own relationship. It had all been real. I just hadn't been paying attention. "Get out," I told Marcus. And to his credit, he didn't argue. He grabbed his clothes from the floor. Clothes that had been scattered carelessly, passionately, and left without another word, leaving Sarah and me alone in the wreckage of our marriage. But the story doesn't end there. Because, as Sarah tried to explain, as she stumbled through apologies and justifications while pulling on the silk robe I'd bought her for our anniversary, the full scope of the betrayal began to reveal itself. The new job she'd taken 2 years ago. Marcus had recommended her. The promotion she'd received last month. Marcus was on the hiring committee, the weekend girls' trips she'd been taking. She'd been with Marcus, traveling to hotels in nearby cities, building a whole separate life that I knew nothing about. "We never meant for it to happen," she kept saying as if that mattered. "We tried to stop, but we couldn't. We love each other, David. We really do." And that's when the final piece fell into place. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't some moment of weakness that had spiraled out of control. Sarah and Marcus had fallen in love, and they'd been planning to leave their old lives behind. The only question was, "When you were going to tell me after the trip, weren't you?" I asked. The silence that followed was all the answer I needed. They'd planned it perfectly. Wait for me to leave town, spend the week together, sleeping in my bed, living in my house like a married couple. And then when I returned, Sarah would sit me down and explain that she was leaving. Clean, simple, with a week's worth of memories to sustain them through the difficult conversation. Except I'd come home early and found them sleeping together like they belonged there. That was 3 days ago. Sarah is staying at her sister's house now, and Marcus hasn't returned my calls. The lawyers are handling the divorce paperwork. The house is going up for sale, and I'm trying to figure out how to rebuild a life that was apparently built on lies from the beginning. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. I'm not angry anymore. I was at first furious, devastated, betrayed in ways I didn't know were possible. But now, looking back on the last 2 years, I realized that Sarah was right about one thing. We had grown apart. I had been working too much, taking our marriage for granted, assuming that the foundation we built would hold without maintenance. I'm not excusing what she did. Cheating is a choice, and she made that choice every day for 2 years. But I'm also honest enough to admit that I checked out of our relationship long before she checked into one with my brother. The hardest part isn't the betrayal itself. It's realizing that the marriage I thought I was fighting for had already been over for months, maybe years. I just hadn't been paying attention. So, here I am starting over at 34, trying to figure out what comes next. Some days are harder than others. Some days I miss Sarah so much it physically hurts. Other days I feel lighter than I have in years. Like I'm finally free to become whoever I'm supposed to be. The truth about betrayal isn't that it comes out of nowhere. The truth is that it grows in the spaces we leave unattended, in the conversations we don't have, in the assumptions we make about people we think we know completely. My wife froze when she saw me walking through that door because she thought she had more time to live her double life, more time to sleep peacefully in our bed with my brother, more time to figure out how to break my heart gently. But sometimes life doesn't give us the time we think we need. Sometimes we have to face the truth before we're ready. And sometimes that's exactly what we need to finally start living honestly. If the story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about life's most challenging moments. And remember, the truth always finds a way to the surface. The only question is whether you'll be ready when it does. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next.